in the golden heart of an ancient desert city, where palm trees danced in the wind and the call to prayer echoed through narrow streets, lived a humble young man named Yusuf. Yusuf wasn't known for wealth or a large family name. He didn't ride a fine horse or wear robes of silk. But everyone in the bustling town knew Yusuf for one special trait: his honesty. Each morning before sunrise, Yusuf would wake up and perform wudu. He never missed the Fajr prayer, and he would raise his hands in dua, saying, "Ya Allah, bless me with halal rizq and guide me to always speak the truth." Afterward, he'd carry a heavy woven basket filled with dates to the market. The dates he sold came from the tall palm trees that stood behind his small house. Yusuf would climb them himself, carefully plucking only the ripest fruits. He sorted the dates into two groups: fresh and soft ones in one basket and older, drier ones in another. He placed them both on his stall in the market with small handwritten signs: fresh dates, today's pick, and older dates, still sweet, just dry. Some sellers laughed at him. "Yusuf," one vendor would say, shaking his head, "why don't you mix the old ones with the new? No one will notice." Another added, "You'll make double the money. That's how smart sellers work." But Yusuf would smile and reply calmly, "I don't trade my honesty for coins. Even if no one sees, Allah sees. And that's enough for me." Days passed, then weeks, then years. Yusuf's stall didn't have fancy decorations. He didn't shout loudly to attract customers. Yet his space was never empty. People came from different parts of the city just to buy from him. Why? Because they trusted him. One warm afternoon, a stranger came into the market. He wore simple clothes, dusty from travel, but his eyes were sharp and his beard was neatly trimmed. He walked quietly, observing each stall and listening to the sellers. He stopped at Yusuf's table and greeted him, "Assalamu alaikum." Yusuf stood and replied with a warm smile, "Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah." "Welcome, brother." The man picked up a date and tasted it. "Mashallah, these are delicious. Which batch is this from?" "These are today's," Yusuf replied. "I picked them this morning before sunrise. The ones to the left are from 2 days ago. You can taste both and choose which you prefer." The man nodded thoughtfully. "And they cost the same?" "No," Yusuf said. "The fresher ones are slightly more. But both are sweet, just different in texture." The man smiled, clearly impressed. Most sellers would mix them and sell everything at the higher price. "I know," Yusuf said gently, "but if I did that, I might gain a few coins, but I would lose something far more valuable: Allah's pleasure." The man nodded deeply and bought several bags. "Keep the change," he said. Yusuf quickly shook his head. "No, brother, I take only what is fair. I do not charge more than the value of the dates." The man insisted. "Then take it as a gift, for your honesty." That evening, after Asr prayer, the same man returned, this time not alone. He was flanked by 2 guards, and his dusty clothes were gone. Now he wore a cloak of fine fabric with an embroidered sash around his waist. To Yusuf's shock, the man was not a simple traveler. He was Amir Karim, the governor of the entire province. People rushed to the market square as the Amir raised his voice. "O people of the market, today I met a man whose honesty reminded me of the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him. In a world where many cheat, deceive, and overcharge, Yusuf stands out like a shining lamp in darkness." He turned to Yusuf. "Would you accept a position of leadership, help oversee fair trade, and ensure sellers are honest in their dealings?" Yusuf was stunned. "But I'm just a date seller." The Amir smiled. It is not wealth or status that makes a man worthy, it is his heart. And your heart, Yusuf, is rich in truth. After praying istikhara, Yusuf accepted the offer, but on one condition. I will serve only if I can continue selling my dates. It keeps me grounded and close to the people. The Amir agreed. Under Yusuf's guidance, the market slowly transformed. He didn't shout or punish harshly. He walked among the sellers, sharing stories of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, reminding them of the Hadith. The truthful and trustworthy merchant will be with the prophets, the truthful, and the martyrs. Tirmidhi. Some sellers changed out of fear of being caught, but many changed because they were inspired. They started separating good and bad items, returned change honestly, and even gave in charity more freely. People from neighboring towns came to trade, drawn by the reputation of this now famous marketplace of honesty. One day, a wealthy merchant came with his young son. The boy saw Yusuf sorting dates and asked, "Why do you separate them?" Yusuf smiled. "Because we must be honest in all we do, even in something as small as a date." The boy looked curious. "Even when no one sees?" "Yes," Yusuf said, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder, "because Allah always sees." Years passed. Yusuf grew older, and his beard turned grey. The market flourished, and he trained many young men and women in business ethics, kindness, and Islamic character. One of those children was that same curious boy. That boy grew up and became a respected merchant across many cities. When people asked about his success, he would smile and say, "It all began with a man who sold dates and taught me to fear Allah." One day, as Yusuf sat under the shade of his stall, a young girl approached him with a small pouch of coins. "My mother is sick," she said quietly, "and I want to buy her the sweetest dates to cheer her up." Yusuf looked at the tiny handful of coins, barely enough for even the older dates. Without hesitation, he packed a full bag of the freshest ones and handed them over. The girl looked at him, eyes wide. "But I can't pay for this," Yusuf replied with a gentle smile. "Then pay me with the dua for my akhirah." Tears filled the girl's eyes. She hugged the bag and whispered, "May Allah grant you Jannah." That night, Yusuf slept peacefully. He had spent his life trading in dates, but more importantly, he had spent it investing in honesty, sincerity, and the hereafter. When Yusuf returned to Allah a few months later, the entire town mourned. The market closed for a day in his honor, and people wept openly in the streets. But Yusuf's legacy didn't end there. A plaque was placed at the entrance of the market with golden letters that read, "This market was once home to a man who sold dates with truth. May every coin earned here be as honest as his heart." And so, the story of the honest date seller lived on, told from father to son, mother to daughter, generation after generation, reminding all that even the simplest trade, done with sincerity, can become a path to Jannah.